Ciao friends! Well, that's just me saying hello in Vietnamese because I spent a few days in this culturally rich and gorgeous country testing out the cameras on the new vivo X90 Pro. In real. Yes, this is only the second phone in India to come with a 1-inch sensor after the Xiaomi 13 Pro. Now, ideally, I would have preferred to test the cameras on the X90 Pro against the Xiaomi 13 Pro, but Xiaomi wanted its review unit back, and therefore we are comparing it against the Galaxy S23 Ultra instead. Now, I know that the S23 Ultra is more expensive compared to Vivo, but it'll still be fun to see how the 1-inch sensor inside the Vivo stacks up against the 200MP one inside the Samsung. If you're new here, I am your host and professional reviewer Ershad, and you're watching Trakin English, which is the perfect destination for detailed tech reviews. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do that and hit the bell icon right next to it as well. To start off with, I'm going to compare the photographs first and then move on to videos. Now let's start with this picture of my friend Sharon with his coffee. First things first, just look at the beautiful natural bokeh on the X90 Pro. Now this is possible due to the large 1-inch sensor mated to the large aperture f/1.75 lens as well. Now when you crop in 100%, you can also see the nice organic sharpness on the X90 Pro. In comparison, Samsung tends to add some artificial sharpening. Moreover, the HDR correction on the rear is so much better on the X90 Pro with better control over the highlights and the shadows as well. That said, both the phones do suffer with HDR blooming around the head, but clearly Vivo's hardware and software algorithm is superior out here. But you know what? This big sensor bokeh that you get with the X90 Pro does pose a few problems when you want to shoot subjects up close. For example, in this picture of this delightful coconut Vietnamese coffee that we sampled, Vivo's focus point was the rim of the glass, and therefore the ice shaving on the top and the rest of the glass at the bottom were both out of focus. At the same time, when I shot from slightly further away, I could get a much better detailed shot of this delectable banh mi sandwich. Oh man, you guys should have been there to taste it. It was so good. Okay. Next, we hit up this man-made Bana Hills in Da Nang, and it's like this modeled city, garden, bridge architecture that sort of fuses together to create something very artificial but also very good looking. Now, while on our way to the cable car, I caught a glimpse of this roof with upside down boats stuck to it. So I fired up the cameras and shot an ultra wide picture. Samsung does offer more details when you look at it closely and a wider field of view as well. But Vivo's HDR correction, especially when you look at the window on the rear, is just so good. You get cleaner highlight control and less noise in the shadows as well. Now once inside the cable car, we were of course very thrilled, so it was time for a selfie. I really like the S23 Ultra selfie here. You get sharper details on all the subjects because Samsung's mature algorithm realizes that there are more folks in the frame and brings them all in focus. Now if you also want to capture great looking selfies from the S23 Ultra and are considering buying one, why don't you try YouTube's new product buying link? I will actually share it in the description below. Go check it out and let me know how the interface feels for you. Now inside the cable car, we were doing something very interesting. Arjun was shooting the unboxing for Trakin Tech. If you want to watch that video, it should pop up in the I button right now. And I shot this picture of Arjun purely to show that Vivo's skin tone accuracy with the Zeiss natural color mode is incredible. It is definitely better than Samsung's yellow tone skin. Now after this, we reached the Golden Bridge, which was weird to say the least, and you can see why. You can see a hand holding up the bridge on the rear. Well, this is the time I zoomed in 2x on both the phones to see how they stack up. Since the X90 Pro has a dedicated 2x camera, it does offer sharper details compared to Samsung's digital crop. Yes, Samsung has more contrast, more vibrant colors, but that's not how the scene looked at all. So what I'd say is that Samsung's 2x shot is a good looking one, while Vivo's is the more accurate one. However, Samsung's advantage is that it can zoom in closer with its 3x shooter, giving you more details up close. And of course, Samsung can also shoot at 10x with its dedicated 10x periscope zoom lens, but I didn't actually test them out because that would be an unfair, uneven matching between the two. And who you see on your screen right now was our tour guide, and I thought let's just shoot a portrait picture of him. Now both the portraits look very good. In fact, I've always liked Samsung and Vivo's algorithm for portrait shots. Both offer a clean edge cutout and a nice bokeh drop off too in the background. But where Vivo sort of takes the lead is in detail retention and skin tone and overall color accuracy. Now here's another portrait of Arun, and you can tell how Vivo is just better even with the edge detection. In fact, Vivo also offers a lot of portrait mode, including the new cinematic flare one, which is again Zeiss implemented. It does look very good. Now here in this sample, Vivo's color reproduction is closer to what my eyes perceived. Samsung makes the greens and the reds in the image a little more vibrant, evidently. Moreover, if you look at the 100% crop, Vivo's 1-inch sensor is sharper from the center to the corners. Now, I don't know what it was about this monkey carving of the garden that it turned me into a monkey and I took a selfie as well. To analyze the picture, the skin tones, the color of the shirt, everything is accurately captured by Vivo compared to Samsung. Samsung just makes it too cool. Details wise, both are equally matched though. Against the light, both are good, but Vivo's selfie camera displays a hazy sort of processing in the background where Samsung looks crisp. But I'm still put off by that extremely cool blue look of Samsung, which just fudges up the color of my shirt. Now you do get really good portraits on both, especially with the drop off, but Vivo does miss the edge cutout slightly. I've generally noticed that while taking selfies and with the selfie portrait mode, Vivo has a tendency to miss the edges sometimes. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but the X90 Pro doesn't come with a 5x telephoto camera now like the preceding X80 Pro did. Now, when we asked Vivo, they said that the X90 Pro's 5x hybrid zoom would be equally good, if not better than the 8MP 5x on the X80 Pro. So I put it to test against the S23 Ultra's 5x hybrid. The low contrast look of the Vivo doesn't do it much favors because of the hazy overall effect, but the 100% crops shows digital artifacts on Samsung, where Vivo tends to smoothen it out with the watercolor effect. The same is clearly visible in the next image too. Now, is the 5x mode serviceable considering that it matches up to the S23 Ultra? I think yes. Now, I made this image purely to check the colors and the details. You can see how Vivo has sharper, finer textures and the colors are just spot on, as opposed to Samsung that just creates a version of an image that has already gone through a couple of rounds of post-processing in Photoshop with added contrast and saturation. Now, with respect to color sense consistency between the ultra-wide and the primary camera on both the phones, they're equally good. I mean, we're talking about flagship phones with flagship algorithms. This is something that these brands are very particular about anyway. Now, I really wanted to make this image with the X90 Pro because just look at the absolutely organic look with that supremely gorgeous natural bokeh. It's so creamy. I mean, it's not like the S23 Ultra has captured a bad image, but the hardware and just general physics showcases that, a bigger sensor with a large aperture just can create a beautiful natural creamy bokeh. Now here's another complex late evening shot. Remember how Samsung had a point to make about how they've managed to control, extreme sources of light in the background? Well, Vivo has been mastering it for a while thanks to the Zeiss collaboration and the T-Star coating on all the lenses. In fact, the T-Star coating also makes a huge difference in low light shots, and that is where we'll transition to now. If I'm certain about one thing, is the X90 Pro is superior technically and in final output in low light shots compared to the S23 Ultra. Now just look at the light control here and the details and the colors. Vivo just obliterates Samsung. The color bleed from the building on the S23 Ultra sample is such an eyesore, and when you switch to ultra wide, it's even worse off. Now switching to this picture of Arjun, I mean, just look at the lights and the exposure here. I don't even have to say which one is better. Now here's a picture of me. The skin tones, the details on my face and the natural bokeh on the rear make it a more pleasing image to look at. Now when you look at it, Samsung's image is brighter and it's crisp too. A lot of people will definitely like it, but it's sort of flat compared to the organic feel of Vivo's image, and that's the big camera effect that you get with that 1-inch sensor and the aperture as well. A lot of brands keep saying that we take DSLR like pictures. Vivo comes really close. I wouldn't say it's still DSLR level, but it does come really close. But the fact that you can use the creative Zeiss lenses like Biotar I've used for the more defined bokeh light balls on the rear in Arun's image, or the cine flare in Arjun's shot, you can see how Vivo makes it more fun and adds life to photography even for the uninitiated. Now when you look at the photography performance of the camera stack on the X90 Pro, the 1-inch sensor with the Zeiss tuning is absolutely something that I loved using, and I genuinely feel that the Zeiss collaboration with Vivo is one of the best right now in the industry. In fact, even the ultra-wide angle and selfie cameras are pretty good. But what's particularly impressive are the portrait modes and the low-light photography, where I think it has Samsung beat in many situations. The S23 Ultra's big advantage is that selfie camera performance. I genuinely love it, and the fact that you get that extra telephoto zoom as well, plus the high contrast, high saturated images which are ready for social media sharing will work for a lot of folks. But for a camera nerd like me, the accuracy and the versatility of the X90 Pro is more desirable. Trust me. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comment section below. Now finally, let's take a look at the videography chops of these phones. Now in the first 4K 60fps comparison, you can immediately tell that Samsung offers better HDR in videography. Even the bitrate is higher, so you get more details, plus the sound recording is better too. Now the X90 Pro doesn't have a gimbal this time because of that huge 1-inch sensor. But Vivo says that they have something called SEPA level 4 stabilization possible on the X90 Pro, which is apparently really good. But when I compared it side by side against the S23 Ultra, I think the S23 Ultra had slightly better stabilization. What do you think about this place?
कोई मिल गया.
कोई मिल गया.
So this species is koi.
कोई. They're कोई.
कोई मिल गया.
So they मिल गया. What do you think about this place?
कोई मिल गया. So this species is koi.
कोई. They're कोई.
कोई मिल गया.
So they मिल गया. And when you compare the videos from the selfie cameras on both these phones, it goes without saying 4K 60 FPS is what is possible on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, only 1080p 60 FPS on the Vivo, and you also do get great stabilizations. Clearly, Samsung is better even for sound recording across all the cameras. Videography in daylight, Samsung's really good. But what I was surprised by was Vivo's low light video recording quality. And this is without any special low light video mode, okay? The light control, the exposure correction, and the absolutely gorgeous natural bokeh due to the huge sensor works in its favor. I prefer it over the Samsung here. But for the most part, if you want to spend more money and buy a phone for videography, then the S23 Ultra is definitely technically superior compared to the X90 Pro. Except for, of course, low light where the big sensor comes in really handy. It's pretty evident that Vivo's algorithm is getting better with each generation. And with the X90 Pro, I had a suspicion that the MediaTek Dimensity chip this time around and its ISP would mean that the camera performance would take a hit. But thanks to the fact that Vivo has a dedicated V2 chip for processing, it's able to do the same kind of really good processing that it has been doing for the X series for a couple of years now. But in this race where we are comparing more megapixels against a large 1-inch sensor, I'm clearly on this camp. I prefer the larger sensor for sure. What do you guys think? Which camp are you on? Larger, sensor or more megapixels? Let me know in the comment section below. Alright, I hope you liked this detailed camera analysis of both these phones. I am working on a full review of the X90 Pro and also the X90. If you guys do want a review of that, do let me know in the comment section below and I'll definitely work something out for you. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep tracking and stay safe.